last thing I heard before I hit the loud music was Molly saying, "Be careful," and I don't know what about.
It was the music's loud. Ooh,
Yeah,
look
okay.
at Funko.
Yeah, we got my boy Liu Kang, Sub-Zero, and Scorpion, all represented to some degree in this movie.
Are those movie Funko
No,
Pops,
this is
or...
two of them are from Mortal Kombat 10, and one of them is from just Mortal Kombat in general. So it's like the MK1 Sub-Zero.
I like that Funko Pops can kind of encapsulate. You don't know what they're from. It's just, yeah, that's Scorpion. But for which Scorpion? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, don't even get me started. If you get on like Deadpool Pops or something, then you get like 300 versions.
Yeah, if you like order it on Amazon without a picture and it ends up being the Scorpion King instead.
I should have known. We're talking about Mortal Kombat today. That's what we're revisiting Mortal Kombat for another episode of Explain It to Me now that the movie is out, and we brought back our two expert guests, Citizen Cage. I like that. Jesse Swift and WinterTwig. Welcome back.
Hey,
Thanks
happy to
for
be here.
having us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I got this. This is Mortal Kombat 95, 97, and Mortal Kombat Legacy, the first season of the web series.
Ooh, that's very nice.
Not in 4K though.
It's Blu-ray. It's
some kind of fake fan
for those.
As good as it's gonna get. Well, I want to hear from the experts because I know how Molly and I felt. We watched it a little bit drunk and really liked it. But
are you guys familiar with Jeremy Johns?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was literally his review. A great time if you're drunk.
Well, yeah, I would agree.
There you go.
So I'd love to hear what Ashton and Jesse and Elliot all thought of the movie.
So I enjoyed it a lot. I'm like the opposite of a movie snob though. Like pretty much any movie like this, I walk into it with really low expectations and I'm just like ready to be entertained and eat popcorn. And I did that, and I was pleased by it. I'm sure that it's not everyone's cup of tea, but for me, it was very enjoyable.
What kind of movie do you go in with high expectations? Is there any genre where you're like, this
Lord of
better
the
be good?
Rings.
Or
I don't know. Like, yeah, I mean, Lord of the Rings, I would have certain like expectations. It was why I'm not a fan of the Hobbit series,
right?
But I mean, I don't know. It depends on the kind of movie that it is. Like sci-fi and fantasy movies, just I don't know. I enjoy them a lot by default, and so a lot of the time I'm going to be entertained, even if it's not a great film. But that's just me.
But basically, the top row here doesn't have a whole lot of investment in the Mortal Kombat universe. Yeah, the bottom row does. So Jesse
also,
and Elliot, what did you think?
The mouse pad right here.
Nice.
Jesse wants to show off his collection and not talk about the movie. That's fine.
Look at all these cool things.
Don't worry, that's it. Unless I start digging out like the actual games and open up my Xbox, that's it for now.
Yeah, all I have is the games up in a box with my original Xbox in my closet somewhere. I don't have any rad merch to show off how into the series I am. I'll just go ahead. I liked it. I had fun. It was about what I was expecting. In fact, there were a lot of things. I actually watched it with Ashton. There were a lot of things that I was sitting there going, "Yes, I called it. Yeah, I knew it was going to be something dumb like that." But there were still some things that threw me for a loop. Some things that caught me off guard that were interesting takes and like kind of like a fun way to kind of throw me off the trail. Like it would get to the same point that I thought it would get to, but it would get there with a path I wasn't expecting. I'd be like, "Oh, okay, fun. Okay, it's stupid, but it's fun." But that's all I ever really expect out of Mortal Kombat. Is I think I said it in the first explained to me about Mortal Kombat. It's like pro wrestling. I expect it to be very dumb and really entertaining to watch. So I actually enjoyed the movie.
Dude, shh. Sorry,
that sounds like you're talking to your roommate.
It looks like you're shushing Elliot.
yeah. I was like,
yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Down with your positivity. Get out of here.
What did you think, Jesse?
Okay. In short, we love the 95 movie. I think that's across the board for most people that have seen it. It's great, cheesy fun. It also gets a huge pass for when it came out. At that point, the Mortal Kombat was almost exclusively just an arcade game. So the bar was very low. It's evolved since then. We are well over 20, like we're like 25 years past that at this point. So the franchise has evolved, the games have evolved, the storytelling has evolved, the plot, the lore, characters, everything has evolved. This movie didn't for me, or at least not to the what my expectations were at this point. For someone that's been following it. Granted, I'm relatively new. I'm like a 10-year fan since about 2011-ish, 2010-ish. But maybe I had too much expectations. People keep telling me that I did. But if you're not gonna, treat it with the amount of like reverence that like Ed Boon and the creators did when they're doing the cinematic storytelling, then don't bother for me.
What was your
That's fair.
biggest issue with it?
It's not great from a filmmaking standpoint. The editing was extremely choppy. The writing for Mortal Kombat standards was bad and forced, and it felt very much like they had heard of the games. That's what this movie felt like. It's like they made a movie about Mortal Kombat from people that have heard of the games. They're like, oh, flawless victory is something they say. Fatality is something that they say. We'll put those in there, and everyone's gonna love it. Make it rated R, and that'll get all the attention. It just felt really hollow to me, and I think that was probably overall my biggest complaint.
We got a
Real
raid
quick,
from
we
the
got a
SPL.
raid from the Schmodown. The Schmodown rated us. You know what? That's a perfect time because I
definitely didn't go in their chat and say that we were live and to rate us.
Nice job, Molly. You know what? I don't want to derail the conversation too much, but because we got a bunch of Schmodown people here, Jesse, I had a quick question because I just found this comment from a while ago. I want to see what you have to say, if you still agree with this thing you said. Barbarian only lost to Ellison by 2 points. Are you kidding me? Mike killed Damon and IG. Money's on Craig Gaynor. Jesse Swift right there. So I don't know.
I'm trying to think of the time point of when I said this, because I'm trying to think. Was this during the draft period?
I don't remember.
I
I just saw someone talking shit.
I'm reaching out. I'm reaching out for this like little thread of hope that the FinSock Exchange was one of the first people to talk to me. So I was really trying to do, what, to get that, and then I got pulled out of nowhere. Like honestly, Coy never talked to me
Chronic?
before. That's no. You know what? The hot seat was getting a special screening of Mortal Kombat, and then already having your tickets purchased and not wanting to watch it again, but having to anyways because you promised your friends. Hot seat.
Now I asked him a question where he's like, "No, let's talk about the movie."
No. You know what's no. I saw after your first match though, and being a fair weather fan, that's kind of the truth. A lot of us are guilty of. I changed my tune really quick after watching both your first match and Barbarian's first match. Is just change my tune. I mean, I'm sorry.
No worries.
No, I'm not. I'm not mad. I just saw that. I was like, I'm gonna bring this up.
Fair.
I gotta build hype.
I'm never above eating my words. I'm eating my words right now. Again, bring it to the movie. I thought this was going to be fantastic. I thought I was going to give it like a 9 or 10 out of 10. I thought I was going to absolutely love it. And there's no way I wouldn't.
I do remember being bummed because I was like, this was a lot of fun. And I went on Twitter and I saw your reaction. I was like, oh man, like I'm bummed that you didn't have the same reaction.
I don't want to be irrational, and I don't want to, a phrase I've heard is yuck on everyone's yum. If you loved it, great. I still want it to get a sequel. I want to be successful enough to get another attempt. I just think that they need a stronger team behind it. Because the casting, I thought, was mostly great.
Yeah, I think the casting was good. What I find interesting is I do definitely see what you're saying with certain parts of it lacking the heart of someone that really loved the series. But at the same time, there were also a lot of things that did show that the people had a bit more care for it. There were a lot of especially in the finer details, and a lot of some of it was a little I guess a little ham-fisted with the get over here and the big catchphrases that you hear, but especially with some of the fatalities, and especially with some of the costume design and a few of the other things, definitely had some real. There's an odd disconnect between some of the stuff that felt a little hollow and some of the stuff that was oh no, they definitely know that character and where that arc would end up, and they're clearly thinking ahead of the future story. I think
You're not wrong.
Sub
I agree with
Sub-Zero's
what you
design, I think, is really kind of a clear signal to that, because instead of it being a lot more light blue, he's wearing a lot more black, and his
Yes.
suit was far more reminiscent of like Noob Saibot. So it's very much like so no, they do know this character. Like they do understand who this character is. So it is very. It makes me wonder maybe if it was something in the writers' room that caused that kind of dissonance.
Yeah. That's one of the things I want to talk about. One of the several.
I'm kind of curious if maybe we'll end up getting like director's cut at some point that adds some more, like a couple more scenes to the movie, because apparently it was a studio directive that they had to make it shorter than they
There's a
kind of
lot
wanted
of Warner
to.
Brothers like messing.
Oh, okay.
So, maybe there is like 20 minutes more or so that we haven't seen that might kind of make us care a little bit more about some of the characters that didn't get a lot of screen time.
Ooh,
God.
strong words from a strong man.
Let's go, Gizmo.
I definitely think it was a movie that could have benefited from an extra 20 or 30 minutes. Just the
I
end
love
is
that
so
runtime,
fast.
though.
I mean, yeah. But the end is so fast. It's
Mhm.
just like, oh, we kind of got our butts handed to us. Let's just go kick their butts now. And then like they do, and that's it.
Well, and pacing wise, it really felt like there was another fight coming at the end, like because they were getting ambushed, and that wasn't like a fair fight. And then they finally were like, okay, now let's take it to the enemy, and they do that. And then I was waiting for okay, and now we can do this, and there was no this at the end.
I'm usually not somebody that's like, please give me more exposition. But several times in this movie, I'm like, give me a little more than that. Give me, because it's hard to show everything. Sometimes you have to tell. And I needed a little more scenes of telling, because what was Melina? What is the Lin Kuei and the Shi'ai Ryu clans? Like, just having people say for the Shi'ai Ryu, for the Lin Kuei, that doesn't do anything for anyone. And I'm a Mortal Kombat fan. I know the lore, and still I'm like, give me more than that, because that explains nothing. Because you have to set up this version. This is an adaptation. This is your telling of Mortal Kombat. And if you're going to change things, you have to bring us up to speed. Because I felt uninvested, being somebody that has been invested for 10 plus years. So I can't imagine how a lot of some of the general audience is loving this, but I think there are some people that were lost.
I do think
cool fight scenes.
I don't think I would have probably liked it as much if we hadn't had our first talk, because they were referencing things and I was like, oh yeah, okay. They're like, yeah, they're on their 9th out of 10 defeats. And if they lose one more time, they get absorbed by the outer world.
Close
which
Outworld,
honestly, Outworld, which I don't know, seemed kind of cool regardless. I was like, maybe let them. I don't know.
I was surprised how much I laughed at this movie, actually. I wasn't expecting as many funny lines and funny moments. There were some that were almost over the top for me, but again, I'm like, pretty
Would I
easily
be
pleased when it
wrong in
comes to movies,
saying that none of those laughs came from Cole, though?
You mean Kano?
They were all from Kano.
Oh, Cole.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Kano was a laugh factory.
Yeah.
Cole is supposed to be like the heart and our focus and our door into this universe, and he felt like the most unnecessary part of the film.
Well, and it was strange because Kano was also kind of that door, because Cole was the like normal guy that's getting thrown into this, but Kano had all the lines that were like, "Are you kidding me? You just shot fire out of your hands," and that sort of stuff. Like those lines were actually from Kano most of the time.
They took up twice as much screen time with two characters that served the same purpose, except for only one of them worked. Is how I felt about it.
Because I remember we were talking the first time about how Cole would probably be like a Johnny Cage replacement, where he is the one that's learning everything. But Kano was learning everything too, and I feel like we learned more through Kano, which was wonderful. I loved him to death. Like honestly, he probably made the movie for me.
Yeah, he was a treasure. He was amazing.
Despite the smoke, I gotta agree with Mr. Mogwai there. He said Joss Lawson owns the film. He absolutely does, because we only have Sonata and Joe Taslim to start the movie off and to like kind of cap it at the end, and to fill in that extra hour and like 20 minutes, it's Joss Lawson.
that every line he had about like your power could be awesome, could be fireballs, could be shit, could be frisbee hat.
Dude, I
Which
almost
made me
cried
like, it did
laughing.
make me write down, what is Kung Lao's Arcana? Is it frisbee hat, or like there's got to be something more to
The better
it?
question is, what is Arcana? Because that is shit.
Yeah.
That's made up.
complete malarkey.
Oh,
And
okay.
it bothered me so much.
Yeah.
It was a shortcut.
So-
This movie is
Okay.
almost 2 hours of shortcuts.
Yeah. So the whole concept of being marked, and then that mark somehow bestowing a magical arcana or magical power onto you, that's all just this movie. It's all their invention. It's what allows Cole to essentially get a Power Rangers upgrade.
Slash
Which
Black
is a lot of
Panther.
fun. Slash Black Panther. It is again goofy fun, but it was very much like a. Is he gonna summon a Megazord next? What just happened? What is the suit that he has on?
Ironically,
but I did.
we have a Power Ranger in this movie. Ludi Lin from the
Oh, yeah.
Power Rangers reboot is Liu Kang.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
But it's but yeah, all of that is made up. Kano's laser eye comes from him being having like cyborg attachment because he's an arms dealer. Sonia gets her power ring like ability, but it's like these bands on her arms that was like she has a ring, like an actual physical ring that shoots energy bolts that she got somehow. They never really explained that. She just has a purple energy
Okay.
ring. It's a thing she has.
so basically, in the game, it's all
They
just
were
like
like-
they have these powers.
They either have powers
Sure.
or they have gadgets from training. Sorry, what'd you say,
Well,
Desi?
I was just saying she has military gauntlets now, and that was like a change they made in the canon that works for me. It's like, oh, she basically has
Yeah.
cannons on her arm. I'm like, cool, great, that works.
Yeah,
Like, it doesn't need to be
originally
complicated.
she's a special forces agent who also happens to have a never explained magical ring that shoots bolts of purple energy that can cut people in half. That makes no sense. But then later on, it's like, no, she's special forces, so she has military tech because she's special forces, and that was fine. But then in this, she just immediately learns how to shoot purple bands out of her arm lines.
That does also make a little bit more sense, just because with the way that the movie worked, there were questions that didn't get answered. Like, does that mean that Goro had like a superpower that we just don't know about because he's also like a tournament guy? Like, do the bad guys have the marks with the superpowers too?
They
Like,
never established that he's involved
Well, I
with the
assume
tournament
it's
except for
Sub-Zero.
art. Goro was one of my biggest. Is this a spoiler talk? I kind of forgot to ask.
yeah.
Let's
Oh,
go
yeah.
for it. We've already.
Yeah, we just dove straight into it, I think.
We see in Raiden's temple that there's all these arts and things that are kind of like explaining like the story of Mortal Kombat, and you see the Great Kung Lao, you see that Goro has ripped apart the Great Kung Lao, and they mention that Outworld has won 9 times. Why have they won 9 times? Because they had the champion Goro. Goro is never revealed to be the champion. They're like, oh, we're glad you're on our side, and he shows up and gets his, stuff kicked in by an MMA fighter with a Power Rangers outfit. And I was like, are you kidding me? It was more satisfying when
Hey,
Johnny
he
Cage
had help
punched him in
from
the
his
balls.
daughter.
Do the uppercut,
The,
Dad. Do the uppercut.
Yeah, do the uppercut.
I was really thinking that he was gonna, like, instead of just armor, I thought he was going to become Scorpion incarnate. Like, that would be his. He kept getting those like flashes in the mirror of Scorpion. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, he will like have the spirit of his ancestor take over his body or something. And
Yeah, that was like for just a second. I had in the first trailer. I was like, oh, I wonder if that's the direction. It's either going to be like, Bihan's brother. It's either like a Sub-Zero or Scorpion attached. We called those connections. But then in the trailer, you can see him like in the background. So I was like, no, I guess not. So I guess it is just like weird magic armor. It's just magic armor. He has magic energy absorption armor, which I guess is cool. I mean, it's fine. Can't say it's my favorite thing, but it didn't like upset me in any way. It was just like, oh, neat.
Molly, do
I
you
feel
have
like
thoughts on Sonya?
I do have thoughts on Sonya, but as for Goro, I feel like when he showed up in like the regular world, everybody was just real chill about this huge, four-armed, high ponytail, like alien
There we go.
person. Like they were just like, oh no.
I like that the high ponytail is one of the things that you
yeah.
feel like is completely alien.
Molly's
It's
like,
way
that guy
too
has
high.
4 arms and a high ponytail. He doesn't belong here.
It's way too
Can't
high.
handle
It's
it.
gonna make his hairline recede even more than it already is.
For the most part, Goro was the only person that Cole was able to defeat. He got his ass kicked that entire movie, and then you get like a 10-foot tall, 4-armed monster that has killed Earthrealm's last 9 champions. And he's like, I got this. No, you don't.
It's-
Also, nobody really addressed that when he showed back up. Where they were like, "You killed Goro? Seriously?" Like,
Well, that's
yeah.
because in this universe it doesn't. Yeah, it never mentions that he was the champion.
Yeah.
You're right. Like,
They did keep relative consistency to like Cole's powers did have rules, and so the matchup with Goro did play into his like how his power functioned. So like that is kind of okay, but they definitely needed Goro in that like original ambush to like show up and or something. He needed to show up first and beat up everybody, and everyone just barely survive, and then that way everyone would know, oh, beyond Sub-Zero, who is a massive threat on his own, Goro is like even scarier of a threat. This is a problem. Because I mean that's what the purpose he serves in the story. It's weird. The other strange thing is, and this is just getting into more like original lore. And then I want to get to Sonia's thing just real quick.
He's using
I
the
guess,
L
I
word.
guess we're supposed to assume as like people, if you know the lore, that it wasn't Goro winning the tournaments, it was Sub-Zero, because Sub-Zero never aged. Bihan never aged for 200 years. And the only time you don't age is if you win the tournament. So I think we're supposed to assume that Bihan's been winning the tournaments this whole time, and Goro's just Prince Goro and is a cool guy. In a good ally, because he is strong and powerful, but you know.
I mean, maybe
but-
like I guess we
I
could
think-
assume
but
that,
then
or we
again,
could
Cole
assume
killed
there's
him.
something else
But
that
then
makes
Cole
him not
killed him.
age.
Sub-Zero too.
But that would also
that
explain
never
why
crossed
he
my
wasn't.
mind. I just assumed he was like undead or something.
Yeah.
No. I mean, he's just a living dude. When he dies, he comes back as something else. But like, he was just a living person that was alive for 200 years. I just assumed he's been the one winning the tournaments. And that's why he was a higher tier than Goro. Like their power levels swapped.
I think I remember wondering if just like because I had this same thought, like, yeah, there's no tournament in this movie, so I was kind of like, maybe they just keep killing everyone. They keep winning through chicanery. And like, we're gonna murder all the champions before there is a tournament, and then like, oh, you don't have a champion? That's a shame. Like, I guess we win again.
Yeah, that backfired.
I mean,
guess, didn't it?
also-
'Cause now Shang Tsung's got about like squat.
Also,
That's
Shang
true.
Tsung
Like,
is
who's
like a
gonna be a
sorcerer.
champion?
Shang Tsung could just be casting some spell that keeps Sub-Zero alive. You know.
True. But we can get on that. I want to ask Molly what her thing about Sonia is, real quick.
Yeah, so I had kind of a love-hate relationship with her in this movie, because first I was confused that because in the game she's like a decorated military like special agent, but in this movie they made her poor.
Yeah, she's like, hey, I've been living in this trailer my whole life, and I'm proud of it. I'm like, okay.
In Gary, Indiana,
Weird
of all
flex.
places.
Yeah, and it's just I was just like, that's an odd choice, and just and then her having to kind of earn her powers didn't really it rubbed me a little bit the wrong way. But
One of
I
the-
mean,
It was something that like it made sense in the universe because they very clearly established if you kill a champion, you get the mark or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We were kind of speculating as we were talking through the movie that she would, earn her spot without having to kill Kano. Mostly, I think I was like, I don't want Kano
I kind
to
of
die.
like that better. I think that would have been interesting. It's like I don't need your tattoo, your birthmark, in order to protect my realm. It'd be cool if she just came in there. She's like, I'm gonna kick the shit out of everybody because I'm a badass.
Yeah, I don't care if I'm chosen. I'm here to help save the world.
yeah.
I think that would have been an interesting level of depth to then add into the mix, and just completely drop the pink rings of power around her fists because it's unnecessary. It's one of the goofier abilities, and she didn't need it. She kicked Kano's ass without it twice.
Yeah.
So
All she needs is a garden
I-
gnome.
And I loved, I loved that they kept her kind of conflict with Kano, because that's something else that was, I think, from the games.
Yeah. Consistently through
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah, just the two of them constantly going after each other was delightful to watch.
Is that it for Sonia?
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
I could
Yeah.
add one thing to Sonia because I agree with you. I kind of had this is cool, but this isn't, back and forth with Sonia. And one of it is when she's talking to Jax, trying to give him a pep talk. She's like, remember when we started in the special forces? My only goal was to prove myself to you. I'm like, ew, why is that your goal? That degrades the character so poorly. It's they did so many things to make her just I don't know. I don't want to say unimpressive, but it cheapened the character. There was a lot of that in this where characters were cheapened. Sonia is strong and independent. That's why Johnny Cage could never hold her down in the comics. That's why they got divorced, is because they can't, she's too stubborn and very much an individual.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of things in this movie where I'm just I was very easily able to engage with the story that they were telling because I have zero connection to anything before it. I'm just if you tell me that Arcana is a thing, I believe you 100%. I'm all in. I trust you.
A lot of people in chat are talking about Melina. What did you guys think of her? I thought she looked great. I think she had one line though.
She had 2 or 3, maybe.
She had more lines than the Bird Lady.
Oh yeah, well, Bird Lady and Reiko.
Natara and Reiko.
Natara, thank you. You said Bird Lady, and my brain immediately fired the name out. Natara and Reiko both didn't get lines.
They were both fatality.
Which one was
fodder.
Reiko?
They were fatality
Who's the guy
fodder.
with the hammer?
Yeah. So,
Right.
and I'm going to say something that might upset some people in chat, fans of Reiko, but I'm right, you're wrong. Reiko's the worst, and I love
he's
seeing
never
him.
mattered.
He's never mattered. He's the worst. He's a big loser, and that's all he's there to be. And so I enjoyed seeing him get beat up. That was a lot of fun for me. But
Where my Reiko stands at.
yeah, but I kind of wish.
Same.
Yeah, but personally, I actually like Natara's character more, so I was sad to see her just get completely
Right, because she's an outworld vampire, which is it's kind of like Reptile. It's a whole species to introduce to the Mortal Kombat world. It's very interesting, but instead she just acted. She actually acted like a bird. She's Ooh.
Yeah, she acted like a bird. B, she died immediately. C, her whole backstory actually has a whole lot to do with almost espionage and her getting into the good graces of Outworld to kill them from within for vengeance for her world. She has some cool stuff going on.
I hope not now.
Reiko is just a loser, so I didn't care about him. Reiko's whole
Melina
jam
was also kind of used as fatality fodder, and I took exception to that because she has a great story, and the reveal of the teeth didn't work. Just have her wear the mask like she does in the game. And then when the mask comes off, you're oh gosh, that's a lot of teeth. Yes, great.
Yeah. The mask would have been a good idea. They utilized it for Scorpion for Hanzo, so they could have utilized that.
They
same
almost didn't because it was on and off, on and off, on and off.
Honestly, I was surprised that he put it back on the first time because I was thinking okay, he took the mask off. Now they're going to have the actor's face for the rest of the time, but he actually did put it back on.
He put it back on, and then he did the thing, and then he put it back on, and then his face was fixed. It was a lot of fun because he's a big ghost.
Well, I think that's all because that actor is a great actor, and so they probably had him for a day.
Yeah.
And so they were here, no, it's me. And then you put the mask back on.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I heard that and thought someone was talking.
The cat.
Thank you for not interrupting the cat, Elliot.
Cat, please tell us your thoughts on this movie. No,
I have an open window here, and he likes to go to the window and call out like I'm abusing him. He's like, help, help.
Good. But yeah, I'm interested to see if there is an extended cut, like Ash was saying, because there was a hint that there was more going on with Melina. In that first scene when the all these names. I'm so bad with names. Shang Tsung, thank you. When Shang Tsung and his forces first showed up to the Raiden's temple, was okay, we're just gonna kill you all. We're gonna break the rules. Elder gods can't do anything because they've always been losers.
Like, that's true, but it also
that's all
felt like
true.
great writing.
Yes, that's all true, and is a thing that's happened a million times. But come on. But he puts down the barrier, and then Melina and Liu Kang are like, they like are staring each other down. Like they know each other. They met each other. There's a rivalry there. They
I thought she was
acknowledge
just
that
staring
rivalry
at
at one
Lady
point.
Lynn's body because
Maybe.
that was
Oh my
happening a lot
god,
of
yeah,
the-
no body fat. Molly was like, I'm scared for him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was saying basically the same thing to Ash. I was like,
Yeah.
he needs to eat a cheeseburger or something. Like he's cut, but like stop it. Like but yeah, so there definitely is something there. Either that or she's just checking him out. But there was something there. So I'm wondering if in an extended cut, like they say, like, hey, why was she making eyes at you like that? And he's like, oh, I used to
Because-
date I
Yes.
used to date her clone sister, or like where she was cloned from, and that's why we have this rad fan over here. Like, explain something.
You could technically bring Melina back because she is a clone, and if you just go back to the flesh pits and be like, "Oh, look, it's another Melina," it's not
Yeah.
that much of a stretch.
I was going to
But-
ask,
The
like,
flesh
is there?
pits?
Yeah, I do. I want to come back to that as well. But everyone that died in this movie, is there room in the Mortal Kombat universe for them to return?
Yes,
I hope so.
Except
and I
for
will tell you
Reiko.
exactly how because of another. Except
I hope
well,
it's the flesh pits.
Reiko can come back, and we'll get it.
But should
Oh,
I
thank
mean,
God.
No, he
nobody
shouldn't.
wants-
He's the worst. So, one of the
Two
like, kind of-
mindless people, probably not, but definitely
Probably
like
not.
Bihan. I feel like Goro, Kano.
Yeah.
Who am I forgetting? Melina.
Can they bring back both halves of Nitara? So there's like two of her now.
yeah.
She got chopped in half in the lumber mill.
So, one of the like the kind of it's less Easter egg. They kind of actually address it. Is more than like the fan that was just sitting there. Is the amulet that Kano
Shinnok's
steals.
amulet? Yeah.
That's Shin. So what that is that Shinnok's amulet, maybe one of the most powerful items in the Mortal Kombat universe. It is the amulet of power of one of the Elder Gods who has fallen and attacked Earthrealm the first time. It's part of the reason why the Mortal Kombat rules were put in place is because of Shinnok. It's a very powerful thing. That existing, his greatest follower is Quan Chi the Necromancer. So those people could come back theoretically. And don't do that because him resurrecting people was a big part of when Shang Tsung says he'll bring an army. Part of that was Quan Chi's undead army.
Yes, but
And-
I
and
have a big
Baraka.
Quan Chi related sigh because as much as
Why?
everyone is so, I love Quan Chi. No, I'm super excited
love
about
him.
everything. I'm super excited about everything you just said about Quan Chi. My issue it comes from everybody's like biggest compliment to this movie is the Sub-Zero Scorpion dynamic and the lack of Quan Chi or even a hinting of completely just like whoa cat. It hollows it out for me because it is Quan Chi
that's true.
that kills Scorpion's family and clan. And I thought they were going to be ambiguous about it so that they could like have that reveal down the road. But they made it clear and evident that Bihan is absolutely dead set on erasing the Hasashi bloodline. And I'm like, that's not completely accurate. Like there's always been that. There's been a vendetta between them. There's been a rivalry between the clans. But it was not Bihan himself that did that. It was Quan Chi because he wanted to utilize the spirit of vengeance, if you will, that is Scorpion to represent NetherRealm in the Mortal Kombat tournament.
Yeah.
But I digress.
I have a
No,
quick
and all-
question
and
that I
all
could
that
use
is true.
explained.
What's that?
So Shinnok is an elder god who's attacked the Earth. So who has done more harm to the Earth, Shinnok or Raiden?
Raiden, but for sure. Raiden is guardian of the Earth. It like even in this movie again. I was watching this with Ashton. So the second Raiden showed up at the Hanzo Hasashi like compound, I went late as always.
He's like,
He's
what I
not
missed?
allowed to interfere in all these different things, but he always shows up. He's like, "Oh, I guess this guy died. Whoops!" It's like, come on, man.
Like, why even
You're-
show up if you're going to
Yeah.
show up late?
Then he's leaving his lightning sticks laying around.
Yeah. He kills me. Yeah, no, I used to love Raiden because he's a cool lightning god. What's not to love? But the more you learn about the story, you're like, Oh no! Just like, oh god.
He literally screws up some way or another in every game. Even in 11, the most recent one, he almost screwed up by killing Liu Kang again. Like they had to have a whole thing so that he didn't. And it's like, stop, dude. Just they'd be better off without you. But yeah, I don't know. Anyways, go ahead.
That was all I had. I just wanted to ask about.
But
I've got a
Those
list
original
of
Raiden
questions. I've got a list of questions we can go through, but if you guys want to keep going through plot stuff, that's also fine.
I mean, it'll come naturally with the questions.
It'll come naturally. Just ask.
When does the prologue take place? The whole Scorpion
1670
Sub-Zero thing. Okay, so that I was like curious if that was just like a land out of time at first, but then they did say it was like hundreds of years.
It's feudal Japan.
Yeah.
Okay. What's their beef?
Wouldn't that be nice to know?
What? So it's just their clans have been at war for hundreds of years. I think it's supposed to like vaguely date back to the wars that China and Japan have had in the past.
I did like that they made that clear. That you have the Lin Kuei is Chinese and the Shirai Ryu is Japanese. I appreciated that, but they didn't really do much with it.
Yeah, so that's essentially it. One is a ninja clan from China. One is a ninja clan from Japan. They have always historically hated each other, just to their core, and have always just wanted to destroy the other one whenever possible. That's just how they are.
Sorry, I just saw a comment that I'm surprised Cole was even born with how Raiden is. Surprised he didn't drop the baby walking out of the house.
Yeah, that's fair.
I kind of wish that we got a little bit more explanation for what the prophecy was, because apparently it was
prophecies in movies. Just
evidently it was from over 300 years prior, so that's like 30 tournaments ago or something.
The prophecy was the Warner Brothers mandate. And the mandate was that you have to have this character named, at the time, Cole Turner, that will be the, our eyes and ears going into the movie. And then they're like, okay, we'll just build a prophecy around Warner Brothers BS mandate for this.
Why was that mandate made? Like, why did they feel?
It's Warner Brothers' detachment from their IPs and properties really irks me sometimes. We've seen it throughout, obviously, with like the DC movies and stuff, is they don't understand like adapting something and like paying homage to something that has already been working. Like in the 95 movie, as goofy as it is, it worked with Liu Kang, Sonia, and Johnny Cage, because all of them were like that role going into the movie. And in the games, in several of them, Liu Kang was kind of that. We followed Liu Kang. And then in like 9, 10, and 11, it's been Johnny Cage. And it's always worked. And they decided they wanted to introduce something new for no real apparent reason, and it didn't work as well as what already had, I feel.
Yeah. But I don't know why they didn't do, like, I like that they did the Johnny Cage tease at the end, but just based on what you guys...
movie, but just then use Liu Kang. Liu Kang definitely could have used more screen time, and I think Liu Lin's a stronger actor than Louis Tan. To be honest,
just having someone to be like the guy that's like, I don't know what's going on, and explain it to me so the audience knows too.
He doesn't even have to be clueless. You could just have, Liu Kang having conversations with Raiden, or do a Star Wars scroll text at the beginning. Like this is Mortal Kombat.
How does the first Mortal Kombat game do it? Is it just text on the screen?
I mean, the first
it's a lot of text on the screen.
But
yeah.
I mean, that's what they would have had to do.
So the first game, more of the story came actually from a comic book that they released like a few months before the actual arcade of the first game came out. And the comic book was just you had to order it in the mail. Like it was just made to order by like the people making the game, just out of a project of love. And then eventually they got a contract with DC. But that's where a lot of the story came from in the first 3 games. Was like, oh, there's these comic books, and they tell you the stats about the fighters and what they're doing. And then in the games, there was like text crawl, and then I think around 2 or 3, I can't remember which one, had like the actual like voice dialogue of like, "I'm gonna beat you up, Kano." Oh no! And it's bad, but it was fun. I mean, it's
So then you
probably
got
for
like
this age.
Sub-Zero mythologies.
Yeah. And then things have evolved from there. Now there's like really heavy, in-depth lore, but that took a long time to develop. But at first, yeah, it was not much.
Thanks, Craig.
You, Craig.
I love you, Craig, buddy, friend.
So I have a question that maybe you can just answer for me. So when they do, like in this, they didn't really have a tournament, I guess. So there's not really a champion. So if they have an actual tournament and it goes basically the way that this one did, where like mostly the bad guys lose, the good guys will kill them or whatever. What happens then? Do the good guys have to fight each other, or do they just pick somebody that fights the strongest bad guy that's left or something?
It once all of your representatives for your, because all of the tournaments are pretty like, there's no bracket ever, as far as I know, in any of the Mortal Kombat games. Really, like when it comes to
Is
the
it just some
story
dude
of
going
the
like,
bracket.
you and you?
So it's more like a game of dodgeball.
Yeah. So in especially in the 2009 like reboot, Shang Tsung just is like, you're gonna fight that person. This Outworld representative is gonna fight this Earthrealm representative. Go. Oh, Earthrealm won. Okay. Well, this person's gonna fight that person, and essentially, what you're trying to do is, whichever team runs out of roster first loses the tournament, and that's it. It's less of like a bracketed tournament to decide who's the strongest. It's whose corral of fighters can survive the longest in this just blood sport, and then whoever has people standing at the end wins.
So one side always loses everybody.
One side will generally lose everybody, or they'll like retreat, like they'll like surrender, and say they give up.
So does like everybody on the winning team that's still alive, do they get the immortality thing then?
No, so generally it's the way it kind of, it's never super clear, but basically whoever ended up being like the ringer for each team, because it's kind of, you kind of figure out like whatever
like
the last fight is, the MVP, whatever the last fight is generally going to be your strongest dudes, your MVPs, the ringers, and like you're going to really get these guys to win. That's when whoever wins that is the one who gets the longevity. Is essentially how it works, but it's never super clear. Right, Jesse? Or do I not know something?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And I was just going to comment on, like, everyone's probably like, okay, there have been 11 games. Why aren't there clear rules to Mortal Kombat? And my counterpoint to that would be, is really the only times you're actually dealing with the Mortal Kombat tournament itself are like the very first game and 9, because it's a reboot that tells the story of the first 3 games, because Earthrealm wins the tournament, right? So it's like Outworld should piss off for another generation, but they don't. They get mad and they decide they're going to invade Earthrealm anyways, and that's kind of how you get into the Mortal Kombat 2 storyline.
So is that
they're
like,
going to break the rules?
Is it almost? Does it make sense that there was no tournament in this movie? Because that's just what Outworld does. They're constantly trying to just come in anyway.
It should be a bigger deal. Like the invasion's supposed to be a big thing. Like he's like, oh, I'm going to bring an army next time.
Oh, instead of just 5 people.
Yeah, and then I'm like, well, so are you not going to have the tournament at all? Because it's not, if you're bringing an army, that sounds like you're doing the invasion next, which is like you're completely skipping the first Mortal Kombat tournament. So it's weird what they're setting up.
Yeah. Realistically, as per like the Mortal Kombat like laws, because the Elder Gods do suck, but they are stronger than Shang Tsung. So like in the games and in the story and the mythos and stuff, Shao Kahn does that, but Shao Kahn is strong enough to like shrug off the power of the Elder Gods. He doesn't care. He's Shao Kahn. Shang Tsung's just like a sorcerer. He's just a dude. So like the realistically, when he showed up the first time, it was like, well, I'm just gonna kill all of you. Realistically, the Elder Gods should have come down and been like, no. You have to like actually try and have a tournament.
Well, yeah,
like,
I was gonna say, so like clearly the consequences for breaking the rules as of this movie are Raiden reminds you what the rules are again.
Yeah, essentially.
You shouldn't be doing this. You're like, well, I'm gonna do it.
When Shang Tsung's like mouthing off, he's like, I'm bringing an army, blah, blah, blah. And Raiden just goes and like zaps him away. I'm like, so you could have done that
Literally anytime. Now I'm gonna put up a little wall.
And they're like, I thought you couldn't get evolved. He's like, oh, well, he talks too much. He killed Kung Lao. This guy talks too much, and you're like, bye.
Yeah.
That's when you're willing to step in.
Yeah, he with his omnipotence of Earthrealm in his little like shadow
It's more
plane.
incompetence than omnipotence, but
Yeah, he like in his shadow plane, like watched Kung Lao get his soul sucked away and was just like, I couldn't do anything about it because I'm not allowed to interfere as the guardian. And then
Yeah, it's
immediately just snaps the other guy away. It's like, what are you talking about, man? It's
Also,
like, we're in the veil
he's the
now.
worst.
How long have you been able to go to this like realm of clouds away from the battle? Have you all the whole time, or just recently?
Just found out I could do it.
Yeah,
Hashtag
they
Raiden
really
sucks.
did a good job of making sure Raiden was wildly incompetent throughout this movie, which was perfect for me. It really grounded me in the movie. Really helped.
I've
It
got
was
to watch
missing.
this movie sober and see
Speaking
if
of-
I have any of
We
these
could give
thoughts.
this movie another shot.
Speaking of that weird scene where they all teleport away, why did Kung Lao's hat jump into the portal?
Magic hat.
Yeah. Well, I guess it just decided that the next most the next MVP was like Liu Kang or something. So it's like I'll
But
just.
then he
follow
just
you.
took the ribbon, and that was it.
Wait, does the hat follow like the MVP?
No, I'm joking. There's no
Oh,
reason
okay.
for the hat to follow the point. I'm sorry. It's hard. It's hard to like not be really sarcastic. About it.
It's like, oh, seriously, that's the hat lore. Got it.
I forgot
Yeah.
that I'm on Explain It to Me, and so my sarcasm does not translate well. I apologize.
Yeah,
I don't think I ever got an answer. What is Kung Lao's Arcana? Because then you guys started yelling out
I
Arcana.
guess.
Is
No,
it
so-
that? Like, no, in
so
the like, what are
Magic
his
Hat-
powers in the?
So magic hat and teleportation are his powers. Also
Okay.
being like an expert kung fu monk and being like the chosen because he's the descendant of the great Kung Lao. But it's never super clear why like magic hat and teleportation go together.
Don't tempt me.
The,
Don't do it.
the teleportation goes through the hat generally. Like he'll throw his hat at a location and then teleport up into to equip the hat whilst coming
Which-
out of the ground.
When
Oh, he's
Kung
like
Lao
a magic
showed
bunny.
He's like a bunny.
He's like
His
a reverse
powers are
bunny,
that he
sort
is
of.
a bunny in
Yeah.
control of the
Speaking
hat.
what does Liu Kang call Kano? An aggressive bunny, which is one of my
Yeah.
favorite like, comments.
Yeah.
But honestly, the visually what they did with Kung Lao, and I don't remember his last name, but Max, the guy that plays Kung Lao, got the movements down to an absolute T. He
Oh
looked
yeah, he did a wonderful.
exactly like the video game character, and one of the most impressive visual representations across the board. And they're just like, you die now. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Well, but at the same time, that's what happens to Kung Lao every time.
Well, yeah, I made the joke with my fiance. I told, because before I saw the movie, I had heard that he died, so I got that leaked to me a little bit. And I told her about it, and she's like, oh no. I was like, yeah, but he do be dying in the games a lot.
I saw
He
that
do
guy
be dying.
tweeting today who was saying like, you know, Kung Lao can come back. Like, he
Just
made
need to
like a
have
vague
Mortal
tweet about
Kombat
how
9, storyline. They just need to time travel and fix this movie a little bit.
But yeah, Kung Lao's abilities have always been really weird, and he always gets killed, which is just what happens.
That's a special power, death.
That's a special power. Liu Kang, I found it a little odd, just as like a little side note, talking about the two Shaolin guys. I found it weird that he was like not as strong. Like Liu Kang's like the strongest. He's like the savior of Earthrealm, but he was like under Kung Lao. Like he in stand like in the fight with Sub-Zero. So he like misses, and then Kung Lao has to save him, and like it's just kind of weird that
And then
Liu
he
Kang
tells
wasn't
Kano-
like as threatened.
He's telling Kano, oh, you should be grateful to this man for like saving your life and everything else. Like, since when does Liu Kang worship Kung Lao?
Well,
yeah,
it kind of
he
makes sense to
respects
me.
him a great deal because they're like cousins and they've grown up together and they do really respect each other a lot. But like Liu Kang's stronger.
Well, the thing that I was getting from the movie, and this is me as someone who doesn't know as much about it as you guys do, but like from what the movie was portraying, it seemed almost like Liu Kang was convinced that Kung Lao was going to save everyone because he's Kung Lao, the descendant of Kung Lao the Great or whatever, and that since he's going to be the guy that saves everybody, that's just how it is, and that he hadn't considered that maybe he would end up having to be the one to do it, because Kung Lao was around.
It seems like an arc where if this, hopefully, I would like to see sequels, like that he could grow into that like strongest warrior savior of the planet.
Yeah.
Although,
like that he didn't know that he was stronger than Kung Lao, basically.
It might surprise you. I want to see another one, despite all this.
no, I
Keep
feel
them
that
coming.
way like often about movies where I'm like, that wasn't great, but like I'm interested in like for Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom is the perfect example. God, what a mess. But the end, I'm like, oh, but that's a good setup for another movie.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to bring something to Alex and Molly's attention, being the Star Wars nuts that you two are. It took until because I did watch it twice. I was trying to place Cabal's voice and accent. I was like, who does this remind me of or sound like? It sounds like Rio, Jon Favreau's character from Solo. And it's a really weird choice.
I'm trying to remember. I feel like we were arguing or saying like he sounds familiar. I feel like we looked him up and I don't remember.
Oh yeah,
where
I
he's
just
from.
heard the actor for the first time today. I'm not familiar with him, but
Okay.
Well, Rio has just like a weird accent, like a New York accent that you're like, okay, strange choice for Star Wars, but whatever. Jon Favreau's the man; he can do whatever he wants.
Under Cabal's suit, he's actually an Ardennian.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a question. What did you guys think about like the theme song and how they treated it with this movie?
I enjoyed it. I liked it. I
like
like the
it.
remix.
Mhm.
Huh?
It felt like the original, and they just punched it a little more. It didn't offend me. And a lot of people are, oh, it's not as good as the original. I'm like, it's on par. It's the same thing. It's essentially the same song, just with a little more grooviness to it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Good question.
I liked it. It was a little.
Everybody's
It's
very
like,
attached to the.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I did like that they didn't I never felt like they overused it. Because it's very easy to take that and like go, and then we'll have it all the time. And then it's just it's this song again.
Do you Snyder cut with the Amazonian theme?
Oh my god.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, we get it. Wonder Woman's doing something.
But like I didn't if they did play it throughout the entire movie. I don't think they did. I didn't notice it. Like they didn't overstay its welcome. And it was punchy. It was fun. When I did notice it, I was always like, "Oh, fun, good. It's that song."
I
So
see a
I liked
bunny
it.
in the background. Sorry, I'm getting
Yeah.
distracted.
Yeah, Choshu's up in her apartment now.
Oh.
Her little cardboard bunny apartment.
Molly brings up an interesting topic though, because the score is interesting because they released the score about a week before the movie came out. And I was like, I really like this. And then they put out that I believe his name is Benjamin Wallfish would be doing the score for The Flash. I was like, cool, great. I love this score. It's really good. It seems fitting. And then I watched the movie and I was like, ooh, I don't know if I love how the score is edited and utilized. Sometimes I did. But a lot of the times it was really either like quiet or it was in the background or it was oddly paced and didn't seem to fit. And I was like, it's not the composer's fault. Editing across the board, either with the music or scene changing or the kind of Paul Greengrass-esque like chopping in the fights seemed really unnecessary.
I saw someone say it had a very Jason Bourne-esque editing style earlier.
I feel like all the editing got a little bit messed up, and like the music editing, the video editing, just like it was
ADR
weird
too. There's a line from Sonia where like she says something and I watched her mouth. I was like, that first word didn't come out of your mouth. That was completely ADR'd.
Yeah.
Or the Outworld, like, oh, we're in Outworld, so we're gonna have like a reverb. I'm like, okay. Speaking of Outworld, that is like one of the most dropped plots or explorations in the whole movie. It's just like,
and
this is a desert.
How does Sub-Zero get to Outworld, and why does he have allegiance to them?
That'd be a great question to be answered in the movie, because again, you can't rely if you're gonna change this much, you can't rely on the Mortal Kombat fans to just like sit and fill in all the gaps, because your gaps don't make.
That's exactly what I'm asking you to do, though.
the same reason Cabal does, because they've been fighting in Earthrealm in these tournaments for generations and generations, and they recruit strong Earthrealm representatives to their side to fight against Earthrealm for their benefit. Okay,
it's like they were trying to do with Kano.
like they're trying to do with Kano, like they did with Cabal, like they did with Sub-Zero. Why? It's basically killing two birds with one stone. You're removing a strong competitor from your enemy and also using it against them. So,
Okay.
I mean, it made sense to me, but
In lieu of that, if you had Katana, she's from Edenia, which got absorbed by Outworld, so she's technically an Outworld fighter that should be fighting for Shao Kahn, but she joins the Earthrealmers. So Earthrealm and Jade and like a couple people swap over sides. So there's a little bit of mixing.
You're just allowed to do that.
Sure. I mean,
yeah, in the tournament, you just say essentially there's no like sign up form, but you essentially just go, "I'm fighting for this side," and then you just are because that's just what's happening.
Mm.
The
What other
birthmark
questions?
doesn't dictate anything.
Do we have a
Which I know
segue
the
for
birthmark's got to
Reptile?
be. We can just
What-
talk about Reptile, but the birthmark is
Oh.
not in the games, right?
No.
When
Okay, I wanted to
Reptile
make
showed
sure.
when Reptile showed up, I was like, "Wait, he's actually a reptile?"
I mean,
So
I think we talked
depending
about
on
this
his
last time.
depiction- Yeah, depending on his depiction from game to game, he is either a normal dude with weird lizard powers, a kind of lizardy but still a dude, or just a full-on crocodile man with acid. But
Yeah.
he can always
Really
turn
interesting
invisible.
stuff.
That's his special abilities. Him and there's like alternate version, like other ninjas that can do that, like named Chameleon. And, there's a bunch of others, but Reptile's the main one. But I did like that they used his like actual name.
Yeah.
I feel like he has the best qualities of both Alien and Predator. He can go invisible, but he's got acid.
That's true. That's
all
a very
there.
good
Yeah.
comparison.
Yeah.
He also can be shot, stabbed any number of times until Kano tries to grab his heart.
Yeah.
Alex, he's the IG mascot. Reptile gets a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Because Reptile's another one of those characters where the second you hear of the inclusion, you're like, okay, he's probably also fatality fodder. Because as much as like we
I mean,
might
it was
know
in the
about
trailer.
Reptile, yeah, it was, unfortunately. But as much as we know about Reptile, and as much as there is lore that exists about him, even in the main story for Mortal Kombat, he's never a main character or a lead character. He's always just kind of around. Granted, they don't kill him off that quickly like they did, but he's very rarely more than a henchman. So like that didn't really surprise me.
That makes sense to me though,
Except
because like
for that one.
I feel like even I knew who Reptile was, and I got excited when he popped up. So, like, it makes sense to include someone like that, even if it is just for fatality fodder.
Yeah.
Isn't he also one of those though, where there's like a whole bunch of those in Outworld, like those?
So
reptile-
he's the
so
last, I
his-
believe.
so-
Yes.
There was a realm. Let's back up even further. Earth had dinosaurs and reptiles species, like the lizard people. When Shinnok came and attacked Earth the first
What's
time,
crazy is
Red-
I know you explained this to us last
Oh,
time.
that's
and
right.
This is still all like, yeah,
This
this
is-
is might as well be new
because
to me.
because it's bonkers and insane. There were
Shinnok
dinosaurs and
being
lizard people.
less effective, Raiden.
Yeah, no. So there were dinosaurs and lizard people, and then Raiden was there too as the guardian of these people, just as the one non-lizard dude. Shinnok came down.
Maybe
and
he was a
attacked.
lizard back then too.
I guess so. Shinnok came down and attacked, and it caused such a cataclysm that it destroyed all life on Earth, essentially. So that was Raiden messing up the first time. And all of the lizard people left to another dinosaur realm of their own and made a dinosaur realm with all their dinosaur people. And then, because
And
they
that's the
can
movie
never catch a
Dinosaurs.
break, because they can never catch a break, Shao Kahn shows up and is like, and now I'm going to kill all of you except that one guy. And he'll work for me. And that's Reptile.
I think I made this joke last time, but I really want a Mortal Kombat game of that tournament series where it was like the Outworld fighters from back then fighting the dinosaur fighters.
Like a Velociraptor and a T-Rex and a
yeah.
Yeah. You said the same thing.
This is true.
So Kano
How
killed
can-
the
yes.
last reptile man.
Yeah, he committed the last
when you put it like
case
that,
of murder
it's
on that
pretty
species.
unceremonious.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he didn't know. I'm not. Even though he was a bad guy, I'm not going to put that all on Kano.
Kano wins.
Also, Reptile was
I have
full
in
of
my
acid
notes-
until Kano's whole arm went into him.
It was saliva.
Ran out of acid. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I just have in my notes, I love Kano. I remember turning to Molly and saying, I love Kano. I hope he dies first. I loved and hated him.
Yeah.
There's one moment with
Where
Kano
are we?
that
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say there's one moment with Kano that Ash and I actually rewound the movie at the end just to see it again, which is when they first meet Liu Kang, and he gets hit with a fireball, and he's like, "What's happening? Does that mean I get superpowers?" And Liu Kang touches his shoulder, and before Liu Kang can even finish his line, he's like, "What the fuck?" It's just like it felt so genuine as he was like,
Hi.
"The fuck?" Like looking around.
Yeah.
It was so good. It was so
I
good.
remember that part.
Well,
Yeah.
Sorry. One more Kano gold moment is that the only move you know, mate?
Yes, that was
Yeah.
Trying to
excellent.
sweep
Okay,
his leg.
the leg
I
sweep.
died laughing.
The leg sweep is a huge, like, actual dude. Get out of here, bro. It's definitely a big, like, original 3 Mortal Kombat games Easter egg. Just like you could get somebody in the corner and just leg sweep, leg sweep, leg
That
sweep.
felt universal. I was like,
Mhm.
that's hysterical.
It's very funny. And yeah, I don't know how you guys are with the F-bombs on here, but one of my favorite lines from
Go for it.
Kano was, I mean, obviously, if you're going to reference a Kano line, there's a 90% chance there's an F-bomb in there, so that's just kind of what it is. But it was...
You have to do it in your best Kano accent, though.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. But it was when they were training in, like, Raiden's temple, and Sonya looks like she's going to try to go down and get her turn, and Kung Lao's like, only the people with the mark can go and train. And Kan's just, fucking whoops.
Oh, fucking
That's all that. Fucking beauty.
So yeah,
he was really the
Is
Yeah,
his
well,
hatred for garden gnomes, is that canon? What's that from? Which game is that from? That's disappointing.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, you see, there was a
not canon.
prophecy that he heard one time that a garden gnome would someday kill him.
Now that you bring it up, yeah, I think that's accurate.
At this point, he could get his own spin-off, and I'd be like, yeah, I'd watch that.
Yeah, just the Kano movie. Yeah, just him doing everyday things.
We need a Shaolin Monks movie, because doesn't Shaolin Monks take place before the first tournament, Elliot? Yeah, okay. Yeah. So perfect. Do that movie, and then we get more Kung Lao, and we also get to explore the characters of Liu Kang and Kung Lao. Essentially, it's just like them adventuring before the first tournament started.
Cool.
Then maybe we can find out if there's still Lin Kuei around, what they're doing, if there's a new Sub-Zero potentially.
In the wrong direction, but yes.
Also, depending on the timeline and when they do it, the Black Dragons could be around, so Kano could still be a part of that. Because the Black Dragons. So there's the Red Dragons, which are evil, bad sorcerer guys, and then the Black Dragons, which Kano made when he left there, which are basically just crime lord, arms runners, criminal syndicate that Kano led, and then that's how Cabal became. Cabal was working with them. So like there's all these like really long history factions in Earthrealm that are all crazy.
Elliot is my favorite example, and I'm going to use this video. I'm going to use a previous video, because there's so many people that are like, dude, you can't have problems with a Mortal Kombat movie. Like it's just a fighting game. And I'm like, there's so much freaking lore, and it's not that you have to cram it all into one movie. Also, one of my first thoughts, we were on the drive home, and I was like, all right, so Warner Brothers owns this, right? It debuted on HBO Max, right? Don't make a sequel. HBO Max series, please. Just explore this, like, as bad as Mortal Kombat Conquest was, which was a live-action show following Kung Lao that was awful. Did he even have a hat in that movie or in that show? I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Did they even give him his
No
hat?
frisbee hat?
Not my Kung Lao.
It was an awful show. However, the concept of following a character like that and having other various Mortal Kombat characters kind of make their way through the story is very entertaining to me. And like doing like a Game of Thrones-esque where like, okay, here's a chapter with this character, here's a chapter with this character, and bouncing around and then like leading up to a tournament or something, I think would be a much more fulfilling way of doing it. And Mortal Kombat's not the most expensive property. This HBO Max would be the perfect platform to further explore this property.
I mean,
Yeah.
that sounds a lot like what I was probably going to say what you were about to say and just throw it to you to say it. So go for it.
I was just going to say, I've said the same thing a million times about X-Men.
Yep.
That like that is another property that works much better in like a series format, because when you've got this huge stable of characters, a series, you just have so much more time to actually explore all of them. You know,
maybe a hot take, but that's how I feel about Batman too. Like, not a Gotham. Give me a Batman HBO Max show.
Well, that's probably why like the animated series is so well loved.
Yes.
Yeah, because you get a whole episode about every single villain or sidekick, and sometimes
and you can actually have
multiple
arcs that like last more than 2 hours.
episodes.
Yeah. The one of the things I really like about Mortal Kombat, how it's developed and what it's become, is the fact that each of the different factions and characters are, there's at least one, if not three, threads to something else in the universe. Like, okay, so you have Kano. He's an arms runner, drug dealer guy. Cool. Okay. But he's part of the Black Dragons. Well, why are they the Black Dragons? Well, they are an offshoot of the Red Dragons. Well, what are the Red Dragons? Oh, well, they worship like a death god from another dimension. Oh, wait, what? And it just spirals out from there, where you're like, and now you've got the Elder Gods. It all ties in with like direct, important plot lines to what's going on for those characters. To, you can follow a thread from up to Kano back down to Reptile and make Reptile matter for Kano. It's just really
Do that right now.
Okay, well, Kano, Black Dragon to Red Dragon to Onaga, and then Reptile's Onaga. There we go.
Yeah, but you just said a
jumps.
bunch of okay. Reptile is Onaga. Like
That's
a
a
species?
You don't want to open
kind of
that.
a weird. That was
Okay.
a joke for Mortal Kombat fans.
As many facts and like lore as we've laid down on you, getting into like the Armageddon Onaga stuff is like another 3 hours that I know that none of us here have time for.
Okay.
We mentioned it last time, but we did not get into it.
For your sake.
Yeah.
Which
let's
honestly,
see.
Armageddon's actually when I started really getting into Mortal Kombat, so it's kind of ironic.
Ooh,
I think
here's
if they were going to
question.
make a anthology series, I can tell you who the main character should be and what its title should be, which would be Raiden and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Eternity.
Yeah,
Where he's just messing up every episode.
the end of every episode. He's not in the episode, but at the end he shows up and just is like, "Oops," and leaves again. Like someone else is dead.
Elliot, have you seen Mortal Kombat Conquest, the show?
I only saw parts of it. I never really watched it.
I believe Raiden does show up a few times in that show, and I think the season ended, like obviously it got canceled because it was awful, but I'm pretty sure the season ended with Raiden finally being like, okay, I'm getting involved, and he fought Shao Kahn and died, and the show ended. And I was like, okay.
Fine, I'll step it.
I mean, and then they made Mortal Kombat 9. That's essentially what happened there.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Anyway, sorry, Alex, you're about to say
No,
something.
it's fine. Is champions passing through death a thing? So the way Sonia killed Kano and got the
Highlander
mark, or
rules.
like yeah.
In this universe, it is because
Are there a set number of champions, and do they pass around? So how are champions? Is it in the games? Is it just like
it's
we were
more,
talking about?
It's like Raiden finding people a lot of the
Just
time.
like, hey, you seem like you'd be good in a fight. Get over here.
Yeah.
I love how
That wasn't even on purpose.
I love how Mortal Kombat 9 and the 95 movie both had like some characters end up on Outworld because it's like predestined or whatever, but it's basically an accident. Like Johnny Cage is like, yeah, my agent like sent me to go on this boat and because there's some kind of fighting tournament or something. It's like, oh, now you're fighting a guy with metal blades that come out of his arms. So good freaking luck.
Yeah, Johnny Cage went because he was trying to hype up a new movie and show that he like actually did know how to fight to make the movie sell better, and then like ended up having to fight sorcerers and lizard people. It's like, I don't understand what's happening. But
spoiler alert, Johnny Cage defeats Shinnok, so
Johnny
Which one
Cage is
Shinnok is the one with the amulet, right?
yeah.
Basically,
Johnny Cage
like
is
an
crazy
elder god.
powerful. Yeah.
Okay, the only thing that this Arcana does for me, because I pretty much hate it, is now when Johnny Cage shows up, he can get mysterious green powers and nobody's going to bat an eye. It's like, oh, that makes sense because Arcana.
Yeah.
it'll actually make sense. I do want to point out there were a few other like little Easter eggs that I do. If they do make a sequel, I am interested in. They showed Nightwolf,
Yes.
and if
And
and
Kotal
if you
Khan.
and Kotal Khan. They showed Nightwolf, and if you actually freeze frame, it like talks about like his tribe and talks about him like summoning axes out of fire and like chucking at people's heads. It's actually great.
Is that like on the mural painting?
Yeah, so it shows like
Well,
a little like
it was in
hand-drawn
Sonia's-
sketch.
Yeah, it's in Sonia's notes.
Oh, okay.
In Sonia's
Cool.
notes, yeah, in that scene, they like zoom in on that, and it's like an old timey like sketched depiction of like a Native American warrior, and it talks about like the what was it, the Mohican or something, or Mohican, or I can't remember what it was.
Mohican? I don't know.
Mohican, maybe, I can't remember.
That's
It
an
was
actual
something
thing,
underneath.
so-
Yeah.
It was there's some like tribe underneath. I don't remember if that was from the games. Maybe I just don't remember that.
But is
But
Nightwolf going to teach Cole animalities? Because
I
that
hope
was
so. I hope
another-
everyone gets animalities. It would be a lot of
Why
fun,
not?
and then we'd have a penguin chopped in half.
I do know
Um,
those from the games.
Yes.
There you go, Molly.
But then they also show Kotal Khan, which is awesome because Kotal Khan is not the strongest, but is the coolest. And then they also did show like a depiction of Edenia and those like amber frozen things. They did show like King, what's his name, Argus, like the last king of Edenia and his
Raiden's
wife,
was
whatever her
just-
name was.
Easter egg the setting.
Yeah, Sonia's thing, and then the temple was just like a look at all these things that we know about and could show up later. And I was like, yes.
I think
Do
I-
you think?
Yes, I
I
was
feel
going
like
to
I
point that out.
missed. I feel like I
Yeah.
missed this.
Oh, I totally missed those.
I think it was
Yeah.
behind Kano in a shot around the time
Yeah,
where he
it-
took the amulet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
in a few shots in that room where the like Power Rangers pylon is. That
What was that?
it's the Power Rangers pylon.
No, I was,
Yeah,
yeah, I
when
was waiting
Cole
for
gets his
Zordon.
Power Ranger suit, and then the the robot with the disc head comes out and tells Cole that he has to defend Earthrealm. So in that room, in that chamber, was the fan for Katana, and then also that's where Shinnok's amulet was that got stolen, which doesn't ever show back up on the podium. So Kano just still has it. Like he denied stealing it, and then you never see it back.
And Luke
So
was
he
just
like,
has
okay,
it.
fine.
If that's how Shang Tsung gets it,
Yeah,
that would,
like he just
yeah. Also,
'cause he did-
Raiden's incompetence.
Because they literally watched him steal it.
And
And they were like,
put
put that back. And he's like, no.
It's also
They're like,
Liu Kang.
"Well,
It's also Liu
Well,
Kang's
I'm not going
incompetence.
to call you a liar.
Yeah, it's also Liu Kang's fault because Liu Kang said put it back, and then he went, I don't know what you're talking about, and then he just leaves. He clearly just walked away.
Speaking of Liu Kang, one thing that I just remembered from when we watched the movie, Liu Kang was doing a terrible job of finding all of the champions for Raiden. He had
He was
found
just like walking like
nobody.
a couple miles out. Like
Yeah.
maybe there's one here. No.
Maybe
wanna-
they're on their way to me, and I can just,
In that where we haven't talked about Jax at all, but I do remember that they all leave.
Oh.
Like they just leave after he got his arms ripped off, and I was like, does anyone want to check on Jax? And then you're like, oh no, he's already here.
I was worried about him. But
And
yeah,
then he got his little punchy arms, and then I guess his Arcana is his big punchy arms.
So
which I,
so he first got uncooked spaghetti arms, which were a lot of fun, but they were not very strong. Then his Arcana, apparently, or Arcano, however it's said, is, and I love this, he is a technomancer. He has technology magic, and that is the coolest kind of magic.
yeah,
As
that's
a nerd,
awesome.
I'm so
will
hyped for
explain-
robot magic.
It will explain him shooting rockets out of his fist inexplicably that existed in the previous games and such.
Yeah.
I
a
need to
good
circle
question.
back to
Exactly. Maybe he still would have gotten big.
Oh,
punchy
actually, no.
arms.
I know exactly what it would have been. Do you
His arms
remember
would have
that-
shot off first.
There was that old fatality in the old games where he just for some reason would be 30 feet tall and step on the person. You remember that?
Ooh.
Oh my god, yeah,
Yeah,
that
for
was like
no
one of the
reason.
jokes.
That would be his Arcana if his arms
Yeah.
didn't get ripped off.
No, I
But
feel like
we
it
have
would
to
be like
circle-
Wolverine. You know how like in Marvel, whenever Wolverine uses his claws, they do go through his skin and it hurts real bad. Like Jax, every time he uses his Arcana, his arms would blast off first, and then the metal arms would come out.
Or would they like blast off, punch someone, and come back? But it hurts.
Well, no, the
Every
real
time.
like flesh arm would blast off, and then it would just lay
Exactly.
there, and then the metal arm would come out.
But you can put it back on.
Yeah, maybe.
If
If he's
this
good.
this all circles back to Raiden's incompetence again because we're talking about how Liu Kang is like late to getting to everybody. He's like, oh, by the time I got to Jax, it was too late. Can't Raiden teleport you? No. It, like,
If he wants to.
How does he know where to
Feels
go
like
anyway?
it.
Like, how did he know that Sub-Zero and Scorpion were fighting at the beginning?
Teleporting people is hard.
because
Yeah.
he's supposed to be like a god.
The sorrow
Like-
in your voice there.
Like, does he have like an almanac from back in like the reptile days? It's like, on this day, go to this place and save Sub-Zero from Scorpion. Like,
Well,
and then
it-
he shows up and screws it up.
You know, if you start involving the character of Chronica, that is kind of a feasible possibility. That
Oh,
you know,
this makes sense to me.
That's Wi-Fi connection, yeah.
He needs
Yeah,
to get
that-
that
You gotta
5G.
wait for a satellite to be overhead.
That's why he has that big dish thing in his house.
Be exactly.
I do love that Raiden's incompetence is like completely consistent with the games.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one
It's
thing
it's one of the grounding things for the movie. I was like, oh, good. He's a screw up again.
He's
Good.
Get it
Good.
right.
I wanted more explanation as to like who Raiden was and like what his purpose is and his importance. But the characterization was spot on. But
Yes.
they're just like, oh, this is Lord Raiden, and like everyone's like, okay, cool. I'm like, that's it.
This
Yeah.
guy's eyes
he-
glow.
Does he ever actually say he's a guardian? I don't remember him ever saying he's the guardian of Earthrealm. I don't
feel like
remember.
he's
I don't recall
everywhere
that.
in
Yeah, I watched it. I watched the movie twice, and I don't remember him ever actually saying like, "I'm the guardian of this dimension."
Maybe because
Of
he's
this-
ashamed to admit that he sucks at it.
Maybe because
I'm just here. I have no job that I'm
Yeah.
terrible at.
Maybe he didn't want to say it around Kano because he knew Kano would rip him a new one and just
And
start
they-
mocking him.
They said that the marking was passed down through the Hasashi bloodline. I was like, so was there just 400 years of people that have had this marking that nothing happened with?
Right.
And that didn't fight in the tournament.
Also,
Because he
how is him gathering champions and training them not him interfering? Like where is the line drawn?
It is the most ambiguous, constantly moving line. It's like one of those weird, like Sidewinder serpents in the desert, trying to keep an eye on where that line is. It is all over the place because sometimes he'll just fight a dude and kill him, and sometimes he'll have to like watch another dude die and be like, "Oh, I could do
He
it."
blasted
could I have
Kano
done?
across the room that one time for no reason.
Yeah, the rules are just the weirdest. Exactly, Boomstick.
He's trying to be the very best, and he's really not doing a
He's
very good
really
job.
not. He's really not.
Well, we've been going for almost an hour and a half, but I want to talk about the future and if there is a sequel or a series or whatever. I am curious if there's like one character or a number of characters that you feel like have to be included in a Mortal Kombat movie, or it just doesn't feel right.
Also,
Well,
who
one-
would you
one's a
dreamcast
gimme.
them as?
Sure.
Johnny Cage is a gimme because I mean that's. But
So did this movie feel incomplete for him not being a part of it?
no, the replacement just wasn't like. If you don't have to have Johnny in the first movie, especially if the first movie is not going to be the first tournament. But again, it just goes back to like then you don't need Cole. Go more into Liu Kang and Kung Lao,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
just leave Kano alone because Kano did the job of Cole accidentally. It seemed like.
Yeah. And I
Who
mean,
would you-
Sonya
who
had
would
to have the
you-
world explained to her too. So
Yeah.
Who do
I
you
know
think
who
would
I would
be-
want to see in future movies or shows or whatever, just because I am interested in their whole story. But Sindel and Katana and Jade, like,
Yeah, Adenia. Give us some Adenia story. That would be awesome.
yeah, like
Mhm.
Sindel's. I want to see Sindel's story and yeah, all the sisters and clones and stuff. I think that would be cool.
More lady power. You're saying. Need Sonia. Sonia needs some. Company.
Yeah, I always played as either Sindel or Katana or Jade, and like Sindel had like that hair flip move.
I was gonna say, can we please explain that? Like, please say that Sindel's Arcana is that her hair's crazy and she can scream because beautiful.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She had that like what's the X-Men that shouts?
Banshee whale. Oh,
was
the X-Men?
gonna say
I
Black
don't know.
It's
Canary.
Banshee, right?
Black Canary, yeah.
Or
Black
her.
Canary.
That's what I was
That's
thinking.
DC, Molly.
I'm sorry. Whatever. Whoever, it's a lady that yells, and
Mhm.
no
Close
one
enough.
likes to hear that. So apparently, it's a superpower.
I'm seeing for about
Just say Lion Style from Kung Fu Hustle. She was the
I'm
lady that
saying
yelled
for-
but did it right.
Yeah.
in the chat. I'm seeing for about the fourth time somebody saying Scott Adkins for Johnny Cage. Scott Adkins is a phenomenal martial arts actor. I've seen him in a few movies. He's honestly one of my picks, except I don't know what his comedic prowess is. So, like, if that's
He looks
doable,
very serious.
he does. He was actually my pick for, like, if you were to do a TV Batman. I think Scott Adkins would be a great pick. I don't know if he can do Johnny Cage, but it'd be a lot of fun if he did.
Okay, he was in Doctor Strange, but yeah, I have yet to see a
Unfortunately,
picture of
he had a
him
very small role.
smiling.
Mortal Kombat Legacy, the show, you can look it up. They're like 8 to 10 minute episodes. Matt Mullins was Johnny Cage in the first season, and honestly, bring him back. I don't know what else he's done except for a movie with Michael Jai White. He's a great martial artist. He had the mannerisms down, the comedic, the ego, and a lot of this cast is relatively unknowns, with the exception of like Joe Taslim and Sonata. So I think that'd be a good way to go.
Also, we only saw like the bottom half of Johnny Cage in that poster, so I mean, maybe he's old and he could be Jean-Claude Van Damme.
I just found something by Googling Mortal Kombat characters. There's someone called Mocap who's literally wearing a motion capture suit.
Yeah,
I
there's
believe
a few
that's one
joke
game,
characters like
right?
that. Yeah.
That's just an Armageddon, I think.
Yeah. It was one. It was one game. It was just a joke character. I think.
Who's
going to
play RoboCop in the sequel?
Armageddon
now I
had
wanna
like 40,
see
50
Mocap Man.
characters, and there's literally a character called Meat, which is exactly what you think it is. It's just like muscle and blended meat with an eyeball hanging out, and that's a character.
Ooh,
Yeah.
interesting.
But Elliot, who do you really want to see?
I don't know. So who I want to see is Kotal Khan, who I feel like has to be in there for it to be like a Mortal Kombat.
Are you talking about Kotal or Shao?
Sorry, what did I say?
You said Kotal.
I want Kotal.
Oh,
I think he's rad. I just love the design. I love like
we've got
his gravitas. Like
got-
I know he's not the strongest, but he just has this like presence about him that I just totally dig.
He's a great character. But like we've got two different hints on Shao Kahn, and like we were talking about earlier, Shang Tsung is just the sorcerer. Shao Kahn's supposed to be behind all this, so he should be the big bad. And you know, Kotal's not really a big bad. He's kind of an antagonistic role sometimes protagonistic.
He's actually a pretty chill dude for Mortal Kombat, considering
Yeah.
he's actually pretty I'm just here to hang out and run things correctly.
I just want to rule out a world without being an a-hole.
Finally, someone cares about the rules.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically what I was going to get into. Is Shao Kahn? I feel needs to be in the next one because like he's Shao Kahn. Like he's a big deal in the universe on like multiple levels. Who do I want to see? Just because I'm a huge fanboy, Kotal Khan. I would love to see Kotal Khan. He's like the coolest. He's like an Aztec god that messed up real bad and killed all of the Aztecs. Sorry, what'd you say?
Oh, with the totems, and he can like use the sun to attack, and that's pretty cool.
He's like a legitimate sun god where he can call down rays of the sun. It gets more powerful in direct sunlight. Can call down rays of the sun to burn people alive. And when someone who can control storms like blocked out the sun to stop him, he was like, I also could do blood magic, cut open his hand, and then burn the guy alive with blood magic instead. Because he's the coolest. He's
So
like
you're
the
saying he
coolest
could
Aztec
beat
god.
Raiden?
Honestly, he's far more competent, yes. Also, he has like one of those giant wooden, like obsidian, like toothed swords that he like whips around and cuts people in half with. He's just a cool dude. He's like a cool Aztec god.
I think Katana. You definitely should have Katana in the next one, but it's easy because you already have her cast. Just put CC Stringer back because Melina's supposed to be a clone of Katana, and there you go. And someone could be like, "Oh no, Melina's back," and she's like, "Actually, no, that's just my like mutilated like clone semi-sibling person."
and then use that to go deeper into Liu Kang's story and learn more
Yes.
about him and get into his character more. That'd be awesome.
Noob Saibot's probably a given. I think we've brought it up several times, but for anyone that's not clear, Bihan dies and then is resurrected as Noob Saibot, who like uses shadow clones, and he's not really a cryomancer anymore. He's kind of uses dark magic.
What about Bo Rai Cho?
They mentioned him, which was super sick. I like that.
He was name dropped. He's interesting. He actually can't participate. So it's weird. He is from Outworld, so he can't fight for Earthrealm, despite the fact that other people do that. Don't worry about it; it's fine. But he's the inventor of the Drunken Fist style, like on Earth. Like he's the one who showed humans how to do that, and he has been teaching like Shaolin monks for like 1,000 years because he's just like this Outworld drunken master man. And he's like, I'll show you how to fight.
Well,
Jackie
now I just
Chan
want
has
him
to play
cast as
Bo Rai
John.
Cho.
Sorry, what?
I said Jackie Chan has to play Bo Rai Cho, though.
Oh.
I think that is.
Actually, that'd be really great. Actually,
because
I was going to say I want to see him played by John Goodman, so he can show up and just yell, "Am I the only one who cares about the rules?"
Boomstick had a great point about bringing not a specific one character, but the Cyborg Initiative storyline into the next movie, because then you get Sector, Cyrax, Smoke. You bring the Lin Kuei back into the fold, explore their background more. I would be super into that. But again, or have a show and have that be like 3 to 4 to 5 episodes of the show.
Yeah, like that would really be far more tied into something that involves all the Black Dragon stuff, because they get that tech. The sorcerer ninjas get the tech to make cyborg ninjas from the Black Dragon. So like bringing in all that, and then also the Lin Kuei and all these like all the weird nonsense that happens with cyborg ninjas. It's great.
Kenshi, yeah, and there's already been a whole bunch of people that are like Keanu Reeves for Kenshi. I'm like, it depends on how old they want to make them, but like
that could work. Yeah,
I think it's good casting. I think you're starting to approach where it's not as good casting eventually, depending on how long you want to have this franchise go on. But he's still John Wick. He's still kicking ass, so you could do it.
Yeah,
might be too expensive.
Yeah,
that would.
Depending on how this does, maybe they'll get a little bit more of a budget, but I mean, it's possible.
Do you have hopes, Jesse, for any sequels? Because I'm down to watch another one.
I mean, I'll be there opening day and I'll hype up every trailer and stuff. But I think it's and this was made. I didn't realize this, but this is the same writer as Wonder Woman 84. If anyone wants to know my feelings about that, you can go to my Flick and Reel channel. But I hated it. I absolutely
solid plug.
And as subtle as I could. But it's the writing is one of the writing and the editing together is the weakest part. I wouldn't say the directing's horrible overall, but it is a first-time director. It is a parent. I think this franchise and IP needs more support. Not saying that it's impossible, not saying that it's a lost cause. It just needs a little more love and care than I think it's got. A little TL.
You said when we were first talking that you felt that the trailer showed that it was made by people who love the franchise. Do you still feel that way? And do you feel like the failures of it in your eyes were more of like studio meddling, or what do you think there?
I think that's actually a great question. I might have been a little dramatic when I was like, oh, these people have heard of the movie. I think that's kind of on Warner Brothers. You talk about studio meddling with the Cole Young mandate that they have, the runtime mandate. And I'm sure that they popped in several times because, again, you have a first-time like director and somebody that's only written a couple things. It's really easy for Warner Brothers to say, do this. We want you to change this, or we don't like how this is, instead of leaving them alone. Like Patty Jenkins was an Academy Award nominated director. So when she wanted to do Wonder Woman, would come in on Wonder Woman, they left her alone. James Wan is proven with Warner Brothers. They left him alone and let him do Aquaman. I don't feel like that was the case with this. So they either need to leave the director alone and give him the proper support, or find a director that's more experienced and leave them alone. Bottom line, Warner Brothers just needs to keep their hands out of the pot. I feel like with Godzilla vs. Kong, which was a lot of fun, I think they left, the name's escaping me right now, but they left him alone.
Cool. Well, does anyone have anything else to say about the movie before we wrap up?
Ambling Soul's correct. I'm sorry. I did forget. She had to fight for some of the stuff in Wonder Woman. But she could, I guess, is the point that I'm making. She could
That
fight
is-
back.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
we went over a lot of the big points. But obviously, we would all like to see more things come out of Mortal Kombat in the future, and
I had fun.
hopefully
This
it'll be
was
better.
this was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I really hope that if they do sequels, they somehow bring Kano back, though, because he was a highlight, I feel like.
I think there's a reason that he got stabbed in the eye.
Yeah.
Yeah. Considering
I'm a fucking eye broke.
well,
That's it.
considering in
I'm
all
fine.
other media, he has like the Terminator, like full on cyborg eye over that part of his head.
Mhm.
He could just come back with his cool rad cyborg parts and be like, "I survived. Also, here are all these cyborg ninjas I made with all the same tech. I'm cool." And then shoot more lasers.
Here's a great final question. Just how would you rank it with the
I was hoping
other?
you'd bring that one up.
Thanks, Star Drew.
Technically, there's 4 because Scorpion's Revenge, that was animated, that went straight to DVD. No, just kidding. Go ahead.
I know. I would say the original Christopher Lambert Mortal Kombat takes first place just because of nostalgia and because it I don't know, there's just something magical about it. It's so bad and so wonderful. Just sit down with some friends and watch it with a beer and you're going to have a wonderful time. And I feel like this movie doesn't get all the way there, but it reads in my mind. I've watched it twice now and it's in my brain as a comedy. Like it just kind of sits there and it's kind of brushing up against that same part of my brain that's like Mortal Kombat 1 is nonsense and it's so much fun to watch. So yeah, just grab a beer, sit down with some friends, watch it. I'd say it takes second place as far as the other Mortal Kombat movies. Of just like it's fun, and yeah, there are some inconsistencies, and yeah, they do introduce some stuff that's like, okay, well, this is clearly just you're gonna have to ignore it if you're a big fan, but it's fun, and that's really all I ever go into a movie hoping for.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Would you agree with this statement?
It was an action film. The OG film was an actual martial arts film.
That's a little generous. I'm sorry.
Agree to disagree.
I mean, there's
I will
moments.
say.
I don't think you can say that any moment in '95 is more martial arts than the opening to this film. But I think it had more maybe martial arts aesthetics throughout the movie. Like it felt more like an American-made martial arts movie. Not that it succeeded in doing that. My 3 is actually not to be boring, but it's the same as Elliot's. Only because like there's quality aspects of this movie that are definitely not arguably they are better than 95. But if you were to say like, you know, a year from now, sit down, which of these 3 movies do you want to watch the most? 95, because I'm gonna laugh, I'm gonna have a good time. And you got to remember when it came out. It came out when there's hardly anything to base the movie off of, and I think they stayed true to the spirit of what existed at the time. And this is like it's an hour and 50 minutes with like 3 highlights. I'm like, yeah, that was cool, and then you're waiting for the next. That was cool. So it feels less complete. The first one knew exactly what it was. This one is a bit muddled, and then Annihilation is just awful.
I don't think I've seen 95 all the way through, but I need to. I kind of want to watch it now.
Yes, that's. My fiance watched it, and I was falling asleep because I was kind of tired. I woke up to the sound of her cackle laughing, like she was in tears laughing at the movie. I was like, you know what? If it's bringing you that much joy, great.
I was gonna say I've only seen this new one and the 95 one, so I don't know. Maybe I'll pick another night, have a beer,
You thought
and
you needed drinks for
watch-
the other ones.
Yeah. I'm down to do that.
have a beer or 5 and watch these other ones and see,
We'll
and
check
then
out
I'll give you
95.
and then I'll give you my rankings. But as far as the 2 that I've seen, the original.
Molly, I have good news for you. Sindel is in Annihilation.
Okay, well, clear our schedule for tonight. But yeah, the original.
And Katana
then-
and Jade, actually.
This new one is down here. Good. Good.
Technically.
I'm sure I'll be disappointed, but
Absolutely.
it's fine.
I've been watching so many bad movies for IG. I'm like, what's another throw Annihilation on? Whatever.
It's so hard. Like, I start getting momentum going in some of these franchises, and then you hear like Terminator: Rise of the Machines, and you're like, ugh.
Dark Fate was pretty good. I like Dark Fate.
I liked it. I saw it in theaters. I thought, oh my gosh, yes, I did back before in the before times. But
Yeah.
it's not bad.
Before we start spinning off into other franchises, I think we've been going for like an hour and 45 minutes, which is awesome. This is super fun. But Jesse, where can everyone find you?
You guys can find me on outside of the Schmodown universe. You can find me on my personal channel, which is Flick in Real, which is spelled Flick, a little hyphen, the letter N, hyphen, and then Real, REEL. We just crossed 100 subscribers, which is awesome. So thank you for everybody that helped with that. This coming Saturday, I'm actually going to be having a birthday / subscriber / engagement party with like 20 people on it. It's going to be a lot of fun, but not to try to overshadow Molly. I believe you're also celebrating your birthday.
That's fine.
Visit Molly too. Like, so I'm not trying to take that from anyone, but yeah. So that's where you can find me, and so let's get to 200, guys. It's the next step. If we can hit that by September, I would be super stoked.
The first 100 is the hardest, so good job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Elliot, where can everyone watch you?
You can find me on Twitter at winter_twig. Mainly post stream schedules there. Stream every Wednesday and Saturday on twitch.tv/wintertwig. And then at all other times, there is a 24/7 bunny stream of my two precious bunnies. I can't call them baby bunnies anymore. They're growing up right before my eyes. But they're precious and they're adorable. They're Chashu and Ajitsuke. So if you ever need relaxing music and something to kind of chill out and kind of reset your day to, hopefully you can find a little bit of a calming moment there.
Ashton?
I'm on Twitch at Yeti Boatman, where I stream normally on Tuesdays, but not this week, obviously, and on Wednesdays. So you can find me there tomorrow.
And Molly?
At Molly Damon on Twitter and Twitch, at Molly Mander on Instagram. I'll be on Star Wars Explained, obviously with Alex talking about Star Wars. And then if you're into the Schmodown, which a lot of you probably are since we got rated by them, you can check out A Certain Point of View, where we do reactions and we talk about Schmodown. Speaking of A Certain Point of View, if you want to check out Jake and Brian over on Apocalypse Movies, I'll put the link in the chat. They are also going to be talking about Mortal Kombat here in about 15 minutes. They're going to just do a breakdown of Mortal Kombat, what they thought of it, and also Falcon Winter Soldier. So
I may be doing a Shang Tsung teleport over to that stream.
Nice. Oh yeah, just keep watching Jesse talk about Mortal Kombat.
It's literally like my main purpose in life.
We are going to be, Molly and I will be streaming tomorrow on Wednesday at our desk back there, our normal Lego stream. And I'll be doing a live Inner Geekdom Schmodown #1 contender match on Friday against Mike Kalinowski over on the Schmodown, I guess Patreon, right? It's pay-per-view. Yeah. But until then, we'll leave you with that. And since we're on Twitch, I'll go ahead and raid Ben Goddard. We'll keep the Schmodown train going. But thank you all for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time.